These are my budget open baffles I built a few years ago, and I always meant to come back and revisit them to see if I couldn't do a little bit more with staying on a budget for these. Using a coaxial driver and a simple baffle step circuit. I was never really pleased with the results. I even did a lot of tweaking. I disconnected the tweeter and tried some other tweeters in its place. I did open up the housing here. There is a small cap inside the housing to help protect the tweeter, but overall, just not pleased with the performance. Now that I got better measurement tools, once I measured it, it kind of explained why I needed so much heavy EQ to even get them pleasant to sound, listenable. Humped up mid-range and the dip down tweeter. I think the baffle circuit was probably too strong, and it's definitely cutting the tweeter way too low. But this changed between the upper bass and the mid-range also. This is going to take some more thought and try and working that out. So goal is to remeasure these as is and try some maybe different approaches to it. I've got three different, again, budget woofers here. This guy's like $12. I think $34 and $39 with a whizzer cone. And I did spend a little bit more money. Got a planar tweeter to kind of keep it dipole. I kind of want to keep it a true open baffle, so it'll radiate the same out both sides. And this is probably going to move this to a true two-way project. I'll figure out a way of mounting the tweeter up top here and see what we can get out of maybe just a true mid woofer and a planar tweeter to see if we can't get the response smoothed out and still keep it a true open baffle. So beginning of the project, we'll see how things go once I can start testing, but we'll see how it goes. Here's the frequency response on axis and REW. 3 feet for all these measurements. I got it pretty flat, plus or minus probably 2 dB to around 180 hertz. Flattened it out considerably from the previous version. It has a little shelf drop off. Ignore this is room modes that are in all my measurements, but overall I was pleased with how flat I got the results. The horizontal off axis, again at 3 feet, looks good. Things trail off really well in the top end, and no real concerns here. I also did take some vertical off axis things, measurements, and it also looks similar. The distortion map also looks pretty good. Most of the important harmonics, the second, third, and fourth harmonics, are down at the ground noise floor there. A little bit of a dip in some of the lower ones here, but not too much to be concerned with. Did have some trouble trying to get it to measure with just the front wave of sound. I put some big foam bass cubes around the back end to try and block the rear radiating sound some, and it seemed to do the trick for measurements there, but overall distortion looks pretty good. Here's a breakdown of the crossover in XM. Just a second order on the tweeter and a second order on the woofer. The slopes were a little shallower than what I was used to, but the on-axis response was so good, and I didn't really hear a lot of cancellation. I left it just as a second order, and I did put a nail pad on the tweeter to knock that planar down a little bit, but pretty simplistic, still trying to stay in the budget zone, and it worked out well. Just give you a real quick final summary of my budget open baffle speakers. This is version 2, what I'm calling, because it's a complete speaker, but there were some earlier renditions here. I started with just the single woofer baffle here from here down, so that results of of those I never was really pleased with. I was having to do really heavy EQ to get them to where I enjoyed listening to them. Started with a Whizzer Cone from Goldwood, 8-inch, and again the highs were very erratic, very spiky response. Off axis was not that great, but I just didn't leave them in there too long and figured maybe a tweeter would be the way to go. So I got the Goldwood coaxial 8-inch. Probably a little bit worse response from this than I did with got from the Whizzer Cone. I even disconnected the leads, took the tweeter out, used the mounting to place some other tweeters in here, and still cannot really get a great response off of this coaxial with a tweeter right in the center here. Even did a dive into a ceiling speaker from Monoprice. Has its own built-in crossovers on the back, adjustable, and probably the worst response of the three came out of that one. So I just let them sit for a while. A couple of years passed, came back to it with an idea that probably the best way to tackle this is to add a tweeter in a separate woofer. This is an 8-inch Goldwood 208, and this is a GRS 3.5-inch planar. Planar tweeter is fantastic, probably the shining jewel in this. The only negative is it's about $39 each there, so a little bit higher on the budget level to get a true dipole tweeter there, but I kind of wanted to keep this a true dipole speaker. The crossovers got a little bit more involved. The original ones just had a simple baffle step circuit. We got a second order on the woofer, a second order on the tweeter, and an L pad, I think a negative 3 dB or 4 dB on the tweeter there, but a little bit more expensive. But overall, the final measurements and off axis are really good. Pretty flat from about 180 hertz to 20K. And again, join it with a sub, which is what these are made for. They're made to sit on top of a sub, and they perform quite well. I'm starting to understand the whole thought process behind open baffle and some of the spatial cues that you get in room with it, and the wide sound stage and the room interaction is definitely different than a box speaker, and I'm enjoying it with these. But great little project. It took me a few years to kind of tweak it to where it would respond well, but at $199, not too bad. Still follows in that budget category, and I'm looking forward to starting a new one. I did make some music demos of them with my SVS sub, SVS, I think SB1000. I know music demos on YouTube aren't really telling you that much, but they'll give you a little taste of maybe some of what the mic can pick up in my room. But 2 or 3 little demos. I think I had the speakers 8 feet apart and the microphone 8 feet from the speakers. They were pulled out about 3.5 feet from the front wall, which is kind of a must with these things. Definitely give them room to breathe, and I hope you enjoy.